one of the things that I know comes into the math for a lot of the families, if you're a kid that could be playing their first or second year of junior B, but instead, at least in Ontario, you have to go back to a AAA program, or you have to go back to a prep program or whatever, and you have to pay. There's like now a way higher barrier for a lot of these families to be willing to pay more money now at the age that they're at. So what would you say about the math on that? If you have, you could go back to a good program that maybe is more expensive to go back and play a AAA program or a prep program or whatever versus a low level junior or whatever that's just cheaper and kind of a dead end, like that kind of vibe. What are your thoughts about that? Making the investment for one more year
as a parent.
Yeah, as a parent, as a player,
that's not really a hard question.
Okay, great.
And the reason that's not a hard question, because if you're like, I would hope most parents aren't just trying to get their kids to be a pro. I mean, if you're playing low level and you're U18, and if that's the level that you're at, you're probably not projected to be a first line on the Dallas Stars, right? So, but what like as a parent? No, seriously though, right? As a parent, what do you want for your kid? Like, if they're serious about hockey still, that's the greatest tool you could ever have as a parent, because now it's like it eliminates all the shit in life, right? That love for hockey. If your kid has a love for hockey, as a parent, that's your leverage, and it's not using it, like in a manipulative way, but that's your leverage. Mom, I'm going out to Dave's house and he's having a little party. Oh yeah, same as my kid was with the dance, right? Who's going to be there? What do you have this weekend? And you let him answer a few questions. And if he forgets, you can always remind him, like, you said you wanted to have this hockey thing, right? And it's like, it keeps them in the lines. And to me, I'll take that any day as a parent. If I know that my son is I have a little bit of leverage that he's going to be focused on hockey and hang out with kids that have a little bit of focus instead of people that could just go out and smoke this and drink that and screw this and all that kind of stuff, then I'd rather have my kid in the line. So if it's $5,000 to save my kid's life for one more year, I'll do it 1,000%.
So I'm trying to, again, be very careful about my own opinions, because I have not had to shell out 20 grand for a kid to play a sport. But this is where I would defer to you again. If that is the case, and it's like, this is like an expensive program, what do you feel about like the kind of the value for the dollar of, I guess basically what I'm saying is my question to the parents would be, what is the point of paying for them to be in sports? Because if it's hockey, for example, wherever you play hockey, it doesn't matter where, if it's any good, it's expensive. It's extremely expensive. So if it's 10 grand versus 15 grand, maybe like that actually makes or breaks you. That's fine. And that's fine. If it's 10 versus 15 and like it's a done deal, I can't do it for more than that, then that I totally can appreciate that. But if you're somebody who is like, you could still do it, but like now it's getting pricey, but like you could still do it. I'm more talking about that pool, because obviously if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. It is what it is. But for people that can make the choice, I guess my question is like, what do you think you're getting for your money? That's kind of what the question is that I would pose to the parents. So if you're paying, well, I could go play here and it's $7,000. If I go play there, it's $11,000. So it's not necessarily the case that the $7,000 one is the better choice because it's cheaper, because maybe it doesn't do all the things that you just are talking about. Maybe that program doesn't actually allow you to use it because all the kids that are on that team don't give a rip and the environment isn't good anymore and whatever. So there's like a quality decision or discussion that needs to happen there too. Like, what is this actually doing for the kid? And that doesn't mean you always have to pay for the more expensive thing either. That's not what I'm saying either. But it's just something worth thinking about from the parent side. And on the player side, like I was saying this to one kid the other day too. It's like, you've taken this, like he's going to be, the one that I'm thinking of was like is 17 or going to be 17 or whatever. It's like you've taken it so far already. Like you've probably invested 12 years into hockey right now. And it's like, so now you're just going to stop, when you're right on the border of like making the jump, and like now you're going to stop. Or like as parents, it's like now you're going to stop caring the most about it, when this is like arguably the most critical time to be invested? That's kind of where my brain goes. Now I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that
So
is that unfair? Is
no, no,
right?
no. But like so the other thing, the other side is so when you ask that and you phrased a few things like first of all, um, I would have so with my kids growing up, if he wasn't um a high end player where there was actual potential, I probably wouldn't have put him in AAA. Like I wouldn't have done that to him or to me because that like to me playing without being like a really good player for like the only challenge would be a AAA level in youth hockey. Like if he was a third line guy or even mid pack, it'd be like okay, you're not going anywhere. So and that's okay, right? I know a lot of people say yeah, but how do you know? It's like well, anyways. I wouldn't invest. It's like I said a couple podcasts ago. My daughter was in volleyball and track. It's like I'm not going to invest all kinds of money into someone that is like somewhat interested. You better be interested, and this might got to be your focus. So as a dad and a mom, if my son wasn't like um, good enough to be a really good AAA player, like that, you don't need to play AAA just to play hockey, right? So that's number one. So then if he came to 18 years old or 17 years old and he was at a point where it was making a decision on the hockey, it's like I wouldn't have got to that because I wouldn't have let myself get to that because there's no point in playing like in my opinion with my kid he wouldn't have been a AAA player. So we would have had other issues. I would have steered him into okay, you could play hockey for fun because that's what you are, but you're going to learn how to do this, this, and this so you can do something successful in life, and that's your fun, right? So like that's a difference that I would have. And then for cutting someone off, I mean, there's a reality to everything, right? So I mean, so going back to that, it keeps my kid out of trouble for one more year. I mean, it's good, but then at the same time, I would have positioned it, I think, more along the lines is like, son, you're not a hockey player. You're not a hockey player like at 12, or you need to do a lot more to be a hockey player, right? But if they're yeah. So I don't know. I probably answered that in a weird way, but
No, it's good
um,
to get your thoughts. But I guess the thing is like when it's all very circumstantial and like person dependent, right? So there's not going to be a blanket answer. But like, what is the time where it's like, okay, I'm not going to keep paying X amount of dollars. So like, let's say you had a kid that was good, right? And like they were a higher end AAA player, and it was worth paying the money because because of whatever. But then you get to 16, 17, and it's like, okay, it's not you're not on the junior team on the same trajectory as when you were younger. What's the cutoff point? Like, what is the point where it's okay? I'm not going to pay X whatever the number is per family,
well, so
whatever.
but that's a fair question, and the answer to that question is like you can. This is what's the beautiful thing about hockey. This is how you test someone's desire or their willingness to be there. Like um, you, most people take things in life if they're free. So maybe it's the time to talk to your kid and say, listen, I know you love hockey. We love watching you play hockey. We can't afford this anymore. So, you're going to have to meet us in the middle somewhere or a 70, you had to make $1,000 to pay this summer to pay for your thing. If the kid really wants to play, he'll play. And that says something, right? You know what I mean? There's different ways. Like there's no cut and dry anything. There's ways and there's conversations with your kids. And this is the biggest thing is there's conversations. There's conversations you can have. If the kid's got a little bit of nuts on them, set of nuts on them, maybe you can go up to the organization and say like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. I need some help. And maybe if you're good enough, they say, yeah, we'll help you. Like you don't know, right? There's conversations. And this is what I think is very important about being a dad, being a coach. Um, is it's not just like that's why I sometimes when I give answers I don't like to just say it and I think a little bit after because I think of what the other dad or the guy watching the clip is going to say and he goes well I would do this. It's like it's more than just a decision and like we had to do. I'll be frank. I'll be Andy too, but no, I'll be frank. Like there was one time Charlie and I were talking about this and the truth thing about this is like I did not give two shits about his school. I'm a bad dad. Maybe I don't know. I could not care less because I always looked at he's doing something like even this. I'm talking when he was young. He was dedicated to hockey, and I got through life without hockey. I never believed, and don't. Maybe I'm an asshole. I never believed like education is really good if you can use education, but I saw so many people go get school and then do a lot less than me. right? So I was like, he's a smart kid. He's got some street smarts, plays whatever. And this might be wrong in some houses, but in my house, I knew my kid. He was me. That's the only thing. That one thing, hockey is going to keep him in between the lines, right? And people solve things different ways, and that's that. So why was I saying that? There's a point.
Because we were talking about what it takes, like when do you cut off and when do you say I'm not going to pay for this anymore, meet me halfway, do some, like you might have to pay for it and whatever, and then you started talking about the school thing.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but it was like that's um if we, yeah, so if I would have just taken that away from him and said, "No, we're listening to your mom, no hockey." It's like it's the worst thing I could have did. And really, at the end of the day, in my mind, if he didn't get a 94 percent in grade 7, it doesn't actually freaking matter to me. That's the way I looked at it, right? So for some other parent, it might be no, like so that was for him. But like if he was not really good at hockey, well, guess what, son? You can't have a 4 in art like I did, right? You can't. We're gonna have to have a discussion because I got
Yeah, there's
nothing
got to
else
be
to.
something else.
There's nothing else
I
to
think
keep
like
you
the
in the
point.
lines.
Okay, if I'm trying to get your point,
I don't
for
know
you,
my.
no, I think I think your point being you need to have something to keep in between the lines because it started off as the argument of like, hey, if I pay for this for one more year, it keeps him out of shit. You're saying if it's hockey that does that, great. If it wasn't going to be hockey because you could have identified that when they were younger, then you would have pushed it into something else to keep in between the lines.
100%.
Right?
And these would have been the conversations.
Right.
It's like, okay, these are the conversations. Like, okay, then we got to find a middle somewhere. We got to find something that can make everybody happy here. We got to